Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gone Legends. In today's video, we will be honoring American celebrities who sadly passed away today and over the last few days, as well as notable figures from around the world whose loss has touched many. Before we begin, we would truly appreciate your support. Please take a moment to like this video. Your kindness helps us continue sharing these stories. Thank you. And now, let us start. Udo Kier. Born on October 14, 1944, in Cologne, Germany, Udo Kier entered the world during wartime chaos. His early years were marked by destruction, uncertainty, and the long shadow of World War II. Yet from this environment grew a performer unlike any other, eccentric, daring, mysterious. Kier embraced roles that defied convention. His eyes, icy and piercing, became his signature. He starred in art films, horror cult classics, European dramas, and Hollywood productions alike. Flesh for Frankenstein, Suspiria, Blade, Melancholia. His filmography is a kaleidoscope of genres, each performance intense and unforgettable. Udo Kier became a symbol of fearless creativity, a character actor who elevated every scene he stepped into. His legacy is one of boldness and the courage to be strange, unique, and unapologetically original. Jimmy Cliff. James Chambers, known to the world as Jimmy Cliff, was born on April 1, 1948 in Somerton District, Jamaica. Growing up in poverty, Jimmy discovered music early as a way to express joy, pain, and hope. By the time he was a teenager, he was singing in local contests, determined to break into Kingston's growing music scene. His voice, bright, soulful, unmistakably Jamaican, caught attention quickly. He released his first songs while still in school, and soon became a pioneer of ska and reggae. But it was The Harder They Come, both the film and the soundtrack, that changed everything. Jimmy Cliff didn't just star in a movie, he helped introduce Jamaican music to the world. Tracks like Many Rivers to Cross and You Can Get It If You Really Want became global anthems. His music carried messages of resilience, hope, and rebellion against injustice. Jimmy Cliff spent his life bridging cultures through sound. His influence shaped artists across generations, from reggae legends to global pop stars. His passing in 2025 marked the end of an era, but his voice lives on, forever echoing the heartbeat of Jamaica. Jellybean Johnson, born Gary George Johnson on November 19, 1956 in Minnesota. Jellybean Johnson grew up surrounded by the rising wave of funk, soul, and Minneapolis sound. As a teenager, he found rhythm in the drums, an instrument that became an extension of his heartbeat. When he joined The Time, he became part of a musical revolution shaped by Prince. Jellybean's drumming was sharp, explosive, and full of personality. His guitar work added even more depth. He later produced for artists like Janet Jackson, Alexander O'Neal, and New Edition, helping define the sound of an era. Jellybean became not just a performer, but a creator, a musician whose influence is woven into the DNA of modern R&B and funk. James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones was born on January 17, 1931, in Arcaboutla, Mississippi. His early life was marked by hardship, abandonment by his father, poverty, and a devastating childhood stutter that left him silent for years. A young boy, unable to speak, trapped between thoughts and words, Jones communicated by writing, listening, and observing the details most people ignored. Teachers and classmates believed he might never find his voice. Then, one day, a teacher encouraged him to read poetry aloud. At first hesitant, Jones slowly began to speak. And then something remarkable happened. His voice, deep, resonant, powerful, began to break through the silence. It was a voice the world would one day recognize instantly. James Earl Jones served in the military, pursued acting, and dedicated himself to mastering language, the very thing that once imprisoned him. His stage performances were thunderous and magnetic. His presence filled rooms before he even spoke, and when Hollywood came calling, it was his voice that carried him into legend. He became the voice of Darth Vader in Star Wars, Mufasa in The Lion King, and countless narrations across film and television. His acting in The Great White Hope, Field of Dreams, and Coming to America showed his extraordinary range and humanity. A boy who once could not speak became the voice of power, wisdom, and cinematic immortality. His legacy is a testament to transformation. The idea that the thing that once broke you can become the thing that defines you. Gary Manny Mounfield. Gary Mounfield, born November 16, 1962, in Manchester, England, became famous as Manny, the bassist of the Stone Roses. His sound was hypnotic, deep, rhythmic, and unforgettable. In the late 80s and early 90s, the Stone Roses defined the Manchester era, blending rock, dance, and psychedelia into something revolutionary. When Manny joined Primal Scream, he added his signature groove to some of the most influential albums of the decade. His bass lines carried emotion, melancholy, rebellion, euphoria. He became the heartbeat of two iconic bands. His legacy is carved not just in notes, but in culture itself. Anthony Hopkins, Sir Philip. Anthony Hopkins was born on December 31, 1937, in Port Talbot, Wales. A quiet boy with a restless mind, he struggled in school and found solace in drawing, music, and the rhythms of imagination. Growing up in a small town, Hopkins often felt disconnected, drifting alone through his thoughts while dreaming of distant worlds. His father owned a bakery, his mother worked hard to support the household, but little Anthony carried a spark that didn't fit neatly into the expectations around him. At age 15, he met Richard Burton, a fellow Welshman already rising in the acting world. Burton saw something in the boy, something bright and powerful beneath his awkwardness. He encouraged Hopkins to pursue acting, and those words became a turning point. Hopkins studied at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, then at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He performed in theaters, honing a presence that was both commanding and quietly haunting. But Hollywood was about to witness something groundbreaking. In 1991, Anthony Hopkins stepped into the role of Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. With only 16 minutes of screen time, he delivered one of the most terrifying performances in history. Calm, crisp, controlled. A villain who whispered instead of shouted. A monster who gazed instead of growled. It earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor and a place in cinematic legend. But his talent stretched far beyond one character, the remains of the day, Nixon, the father. His performances carried humanity, vulnerability, and immense emotional truth. Hopkins is a master of control, a craftsman of the mind, a storyteller who understands the fragility of being human. His legacy is one of brilliance carved through discipline, and a quiet reminder that genius often grows in silence. Al Pacino, Alfredo James. Pacino was born on April 25, 1940, in East Harlem, before moving to the South Bronx, an area that sharpened his toughness and fueled his dreams. His early life was marked by poverty, loneliness, and a longing for purpose. Raised by a single mother and his grandparents, Pacino found escape not in sports or popularity, but in storytelling. He performed in school plays, entertained friends with impressions, and fell in love with the power of becoming someone else. Yet he struggled with school, drifted from place to place, and found himself searching for direction. What he did not yet know was that his voice, a voice that would one day become one of the most iconic in cinema, was waiting to be discovered. In his early adulthood, Pacino worked odd jobs, slept on friends' floors, and wandered through New York's theater scene with determination sharper than his circumstances. He auditioned relentlessly until the actor's studio accepted him under the teaching of Lee Strasberg. Something awakened inside him. He learned discipline, truth, emotional depth. Acting was no longer a dream, it was his calling. Then came a role that would transform his life and cinema itself: The Godfather. When Francis Ford Coppola cast him as Michael Corleone, despite studio protests, Pacino stepped into a character whose quiet intensity would change film acting forever. His performance was not loud, it was not aggressive. It was restrained, calculating, deadly. He mastered silence as power. Then came Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon, Scarface. Every decade, Pacino reinvented himself, shaping new eras of cinema. His roles became symbols of complexity and fire. Heat, Scent of a Woman, The Irishman. Pacino is not just an actor. He is a force of raw truth, a master of vulnerability and fury. His legacy is one of total devotion to craft, a reminder that greatness is born in the shadows long before it shines in the light. Dolph Lundgren, Hans Dolph. Lundgren was born on November 3, 1957, in Stockholm, Sweden. Long before Hollywood would know his name, long before the world would see him as the embodiment of strength, discipline, and cold, intimidating power. But beneath the towering frame, beneath the sharp jawline and the warrior's presence, Dolph was a quiet boy with dreams shaped not by spotlight, but by struggle. His early years were marked by emotional distance and a complex family life. His father, a strict and demanding engineer, instilled in him a sense of perfectionism that cut deep, pushing Dolph to achieve, but also leaving lasting wounds. His mother, kind and gentle, tried to soften the home's harsh edges, but young Dolph learned early that strength didn't always come from muscles. It often came from endurance. Growing up, he was small, skinny, and often insecure, but he studied relentlessly. In school, he excelled: math, chemistry, engineering. His teachers saw brilliance in him, something precise and structured. And while other children dreamed of fame or adventure, Dolph dreamed of escape. Escape through knowledge. Escape through discipline. Escape through building a life far from fear. But fate had other plans. By the time he was a teenager, Dolph discovered martial arts, first judo, then karate. The discipline, the control, the focus, it gave him a sense of identity he never felt before. Every movement was deliberate. Every breath had purpose. Every strike was a release. He trained with intensity, mastering his body the same way he mastered equations. And slowly, the skinny boy began to transform. He earned a black belt. He became European champion in Kyokushin karate, a style known for its brutality and discipline. He won competitions, trophies, respect. For the first time in his life, he felt powerful, not just physically, but emotionally. He found direction. But while his body transformed, his mind carried a different ambition. Dolph was brilliant. So brilliant that he earned a scholarship to study chemical engineering at Washington State University, and later a Fulbright scholarship to MIT, one of the most prestigious institutions in the world. He wasn't just a fighter. He wasn't just a student. He was a man balancing two worlds, intellect and power, structure and emotion. but life changed with one meeting, one woman. While working as a bouncer and studying in Australia, Dolph met singer and actress Grace Jones, a force of nature, bold, fiery, magnetic. Their connection was immediate. She saw in him something Hollywood had not yet discovered: presence, charisma, and an intensity that could light up a screen. Grace introduced him to the world of entertainment, inviting him into a universe where strength wasn't just physical, where it could be art. He took a small role in A View to a Kill, just a glimpse of what was coming. But everything shifted when he auditioned for a film that would define a generation, Rocky IV. The moment Dolph Lundgren stepped into the audition room, everything changed. His physical presence was overwhelming. 6'5", sculpted, quiet, watchful. He spoke few words, but he didn't need to. When Sylvester Stallone saw him, he knew the search was over. Dolph didn't just look like Ivan Drago, he was him, cold, controlled, dangerous, a perfect storm of power and precision. Dolph trained intensely for the role, shaping his body into a machine. He studied the emotional stillness of a man raised to be a weapon, a symbol of strength with no space for weakness. And when the cameras rolled, Dolph delivered one of the most unforgettable performances in action film history. With a single line, "If he dies, he dies," he became one of cinema's most iconic villains. Yet behind the scenes, Dolph was gentle, intellectual, thoughtful, but on screen he was terrifying. He was the embodiment of unstoppable force. He was the man who threatened Rocky Balboa, and in doing so cemented himself as a legend. After Rocky IV, Hollywood tried to shape him into a single image: the muscle-bound giant, the fighter, the warrior. But Dolph refused to be limited. He took roles that challenged him: Masters of the Universe, Red Scorpion, Universal Soldier. He played soldiers, kings, heroes, villains. Each role carried pieces of him: the discipline of a martial artist, the intelligence of a scholar, the vulnerability of a man who had overcome his own ghosts. But Hollywood isn't gentle. For every rise, there is a fall. As the industry shifted, Dolph found himself facing struggles: typecasting, fewer roles, personal battles. But he never quit. He trained harder, worked more, directed films, studied the craft, reinvented himself again and again. He was not a star by luck, he was a star by endurance. Dolph Lundgren became a symbol of resilience. His career spanned decades because he adapted, survived, and kept rising. The world saw the muscles first, but those who looked deeper saw the mind behind them, the discipline beneath them, the heart within them. Then came the era of the Expendables, a reunion of action legends, a celebration of grit, strength, and cinematic power. Dolph stepped back into the spotlight as Gunnar Jensen, flawed, dangerous, brilliant. Fans rediscovered him. A new generation fell in love with him, and Dolph, once seen as only a villain, became a hero again. Older, wiser, and more powerful than ever. Behind the camera, Dolph's life carried battles the public never saw. He fought cancer quietly, privately, with the same determination he brought to every challenge. He survived. He continued working. He continued inspiring millions with his honesty and resilience. He became living proof that strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to rise through it. Through decades of film, heartbreak, triumph, and reinvention, Dolph Lundgren emerged as far more than the cold warrior he once portrayed. He became a father, a director, a survivor, a mentor, and a symbol of what it means to endure. He proved that intelligence and physical power can coexist, that discipline can shape destiny, and that legends are not built in years. They are built in moments of choice. Dolph's life reminds us that greatness is not defined by where you start, but by how many times you rise. He was the boy who felt small, the man who became unstoppable, the actor who terrified the world, the survivor who inspired it. His legacy stands tall, not just in film, but in spirit. He is power, he is discipline, he is resilience. He is Dolph Lundgren.